a presentation from the Elkem team, which is what you're here for, of course, who will be presenting on their new circular silicone solutions, which are aimed to help drive sustainability in the release liner, label, and tape industries. I'm just going to dive into my presentation now, which will be very short, but hope interesting for you all. So first, maybe just to give some context, the global release liner market, as you can see by region, is estimated to be very focused in the Asian markets, and Europe and North America with 26 and 25% respectively, with South America and AME with much smaller shares. When it comes to sustainability in the regions, we know that there is definitely a difference in how companies in these regions handle it, whether it's a global company or a local company. Europe definitely leads in terms of sustainable solutions and adoption of those solutions, though Asia and North America definitely are not that far behind. Europe has been driven greatly by regulations and also by more consumer sentiment when it comes to sustainability than in other regions. If we look at the global release liner market by end use segment, we see that label stock takes the vast majority of the market at almost half, at 47%. This is also where we're seeing the most development in terms of sustainability, not only for the full label stock construct in terms of the face stock and the adhesive, but also definitely for the release liner. However, other segments where we're seeing sustainability developments and trends are in the graphic arts segments, tapes, and hygienes. The others, due to the fact that they're not as consumer facing, they're smaller segments, you do see less of this demand for sustainable solutions. However, we do see that potentially growing in the future. So I will go into each of these ones in more depth shortly, but let's say the main trends that are driving sustainability and are developing or driving the market are of course recycling of the liner, down gauging of materials, specific trends in materials, whether it be the substrate or the silicone, regulation, and then of course how sustainability and innovation are now basically hand in hand. So starting with recycling, I think when it comes to release liner, especially in the label stock market, this is something that first comes to mind. And there's been a lot of development with, certain associations that have come up to drive the recycling of spent release liner. However, there continue to be challenges associated with this, mainly in terms of logistics and collecting enough volume, the cleanliness of the liner collected. So there's still a long way to go. However, the industry has definitely made progress. And we're also seeing more and more interest from other segments like the tapes market and the graphics, the pressure sensitive graphic arts market, where there is either inquiries or interest in, what can we do with this release liner byproduct at end of life so that it doesn't end up in landfill, whether it's a circular solution or more of a downcycling, if possible. Then we have down gauging, which is, of course, has been an ongoing trend for years now. Not only driven by sustainability, but just by efficiency and using less material in a liner. The question has to be asked, at what point do you reach a point where you can no longer make the release liner thinner, whether it be a film or paper release liner? However, it seems there's still some room to go a bit thinner. So that's still an ongoing trend, though definitely slowing down. Then materials, which I think is maybe the most interesting one, especially since we'll be hearing from Elkem shortly about what they've developed for the silicone, for their silicone products. So a lot of the developments have been on the substrate side, whether it be film and paper. And this can be in several forms. So, for example, you now very regularly see RPET liners. So, with PCR content in the PET liners, up to 90% or even higher if needed. Also, paper liners with recycled content are available on the market with similar or with the same performance characteristics as a liner made of virgin fibers. If we look at, for example, polycoated liners, we're also seeing the use of renewable sources for those poly coatings. So there's polyethylene coatings on the liner. We're seeing that from major silicone coater companies. The aim essentially is just to use less virgin fiber and, if possible, more recycled content. There are, of course, challenges with that, whether it be the availability of the content in certain segments, like in medical, it might not be possible just due to the requirements of that specific application, where it's a much more sensitive product. However, in segments like label or tapes, it's something that can definitely be adopted and is being adopted. There's, of course, the constant question of whether paper or film is more sustainable. In the end, it just depends on the application and a number of factors. Neither one is better than the other. They both have their pros and cons. But we do see somewhat of a shift just due to either it's a mentality of certain customers where they believe that film might be a more sustainable solution due to the recycling potential. So they will switch to film, or the other way around, where they see paper as a natural fiber material as a more sustainable option. So prefer to use a paper liner as opposed to a film liner. We're also seeing within the paper segment, for example, a somewhat of a shift in some applications. It's not significant, but it's something that's been ongoing from poly-coated to clay-coated liners. Clay-coated liners being seen as more sustainable due to the lack of that polyethylene coating on the paper. We're also seeing the rising of new alternative materials, for example, SAPI's BCK base paper, which is an alternative to a poly-coated paper, which has similar performance as a poly-coated paper, but again, without that plastic element to it. Of course, the responsible sourcing of materials is important. So whether it be FSC certified or other certifications that might be required by the eventual end user of the liner is almost has to be a given when talking about release liner. If we look at silicones, Elkem, of course, will be talking more about this, but we're also seeing a move away from solvent-based silicones driven in large part by sustainability, especially in Europe, where it's heavily regulated. And there's been a tremendous move away from it. And we're seeing it also in Asia and in North America, where these silicones can be replaced by other technologies. It's definitely being done. Then at the end, of course, there's the complete elimination of the release liner, which, for example, we're talking about linerless labels. This is also a trend we're seeing, although it's been a viable solution for many years. It's a market that we see growing. Then, of course, there is regulation, which has been a very big driver of sustainability, not only for liner, but in general for packaging and tapes and other segments. So in Europe, for example, we now have the PPWR. While there is no specific mention of release liner at this moment as packaging waste, that could, of course, change in the future and have an impact on the industry. But it's definitely something that's being considered by all brand owners. Another important part of regulation is, of course, that the EU and many other countries and regions have CO2 emission goals in order to reduce these. So this is being seen then in the production phase, in the paper, in the raw material part, so paper, film, silicones, but also in the actual coating part of the market, where companies are definitely investing in just reducing their CO2 emissions and making their processes more efficient and sustainable. Finally, sustainability used to be, maybe many years ago, an afterthought or something that maybe specific customers were asking for. Now we're seeing that sustainability and innovation are really going hand in hand, and it's an integral part of innovation and coming up with new solutions and products. It's something that's considered. Might not be the ultimate goal, but it's definitely part of the product development process and something that's taken into consideration. So this was very briefly the main trends in the sustainability market, so in the release liner market, sorry. So thank you very much for this. I'd like now to welcome Clement de Courrier, who is Sustainability Business Manager at Elkem.
Hello.
And hi, Clement. And then Sebastian Marot, who is Self-Adhesive Industry Product Manager at Elkem.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Good morning.
Hi, good afternoon. And then Karine Dupuy, who is Self-Adhesive Industry Market Manager. And they will now be presenting their solutions. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you, the Elkem team. Looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you very much, Catalina, for this introduction. So as you said, this webinar is around the launch from Elkem of circular silicone solutions for release liners, labels, and tapes. So this webinar will be split in 3 parts. First, I will introduce briefly Elkem Silicones, and our sustainability strategy. Then I will, or Sebastian will actually introduce a range of low energy consuming silicones for release coatings. And last but not least, Karine will officially introduce our first ever recycled silicones for your applications. So let me start. First, a quick glance at who we are, but I'm sure many of you know us already. Elkem is a Norwegian company focusing on advanced silicone-based materials. And Elkem Silicones, we are one division of Elkem focusing on silicones. It's in the name. We represent roughly half the company in terms of turnover, with over 1.2 billion euro of sales worldwide. And it's worth noting that we have manufacturing sites and technical supports all over the world. So the integration within the Elkem group allows us to have a full control over the value chain, because we are 100% backwards integrated from the extraction of quartz down to the formulation of specialty silicones and products. So it's important to keep this value chain in mind, because it does have an impact on our sustainability profiles and on some of the key actions that we have to decrease our footprint. And we will see that later on. So Elkem's sustainability strategy first is in line with the Paris Agreement, with the aim to stay below 2 degrees Celsius of global warming. And so our strategy is really based on 3 pillars. The first one is to reduce our own emission. Many companies our size have a target, and we have a trajectory with key actions to reach climate neutrality. The second one is about supplying key materials to the transition. We see example here with the green vehicles. They need silicones and silicone. And the third part is about circular economy that we are trying to improve. And I think today's introduction is a great example of what we're doing around circularity. In terms of strategy and reporting, we have received some key recognitions, like, for example, the EcoVadis Platinum rating and A grades from CDP. So if you want to learn more about our strategies and the actions we have in place to reduce our footprint, I encourage you to visit our website and read our yearly report with a lot of details. And of course, if you have further questions after that, feel free to contact us. So when it comes to silicones and the carbon footprint of silicones, we see that there are a lot of different numbers available out there. If you look for example, in the database like EcoInvent, the 3.9 version, you can find a number of 16 kilo of CO2 per kilo of silicone, which actually is close to a silicone that would be made using coal energy, coal-based raw materials, like it's the case in some Asian countries. The Global Silicon Council, which is the association for the large, let's say, Western companies making silicone, has proposed a number of 6.2 for, again, this company as an average of the industry. And you can see in purple in this graph the impact of the silicon metal as a key ingredient to make silicones, which represents a big part, of course, of the total. So at Elkem, from our silicone European upstream plants, our silicones are closer to the number of 4.2 kilo of CO2 per kilo of silicone, which we believe is one of the lowest carbon footprint for silicones available. And this is due to many factors, but mostly due to our sourcing of silicon metal from our Norwegian sister companies. These Norwegian sources use a lot of renewable electricity that's available there, and also a high share of biocarbons used in the silicon metal smelting step. So in addition to that, of course, there has been a lot of continuous improvements at our downstream silicone sites, mostly in France, but also in other countries, to reduce overall and improve our energetical mix to reach this number of 4.2. So what that means for you is that sourcing silicones from Elkem can help to lower your Scope 3 emissions and your own carbon footprint for the products using silicones. So when we talk carbon footprint, it's important to have accurate data and transparency. So what we have done is we have developed our own tool to calculate the carbon footprint of all our silicone products based on our data that we are available for energy, etc. This calculation tool is based on international standards like Greenhouse Gas Protocol and Together for Sustainability, and this tool has been certified by a third party. So that means for you, you're able to obtain a reliable carbon footprint. There's a document here, or an example of a document that we can share with our customers buying from us. And this you can have for each individual product that you can buy from us. And this will allow you, again, to have very accurate calculations in turn in your own products. Finally, regarding circularity and circular economy, what we have done at Elkem is we have implemented an eco-design methodology to assess the impact of new products. And this is done at each step of the life of the product, from raw materials to processing in our plants, to the transport to the customers, but also to the energy used at the customer level and the end of life. And if we focus at the end of life and raw material stage, what we have done also in addition to that is we have defined key criteria for specific silicones that help close the loop. That means are circular and help reduce the use of fossil resources for the manufacturing of silicones. And so the silicones matching these products will be labeled with the Circle brand, which is a brand we own for our circular silicone technologies. What circular means is that the product either incorporates bio-based content or recycled content, and all of that, of course, without a compromise on performance for you. And again, today, a good example are the two products that Karin will introduce in the final part of this webinar, which are again listed or labeled with this Circle brand, and are specific products for the release coating industry. So with that being said, I will now hand over to Sébastien, who will introduce silicone products that will help reduce your energy consumption.
Thank you, Clément. Good afternoon and good morning, everybody. One more time. Today, I'm pleased to share with you our recent initiative to provide eco-design silicone release coatings to the market by combining the adaptation of UV LED and suitable UV curing silicone formulations. In fact, this objective has been set up to help customers to reduce their Scope 2 emissions according to the greenhouse gas protocol. Let me first introduce our SILCOLEASE range of products. With over 60 years of expertise in silicone release coatings, SILCOLEASE stands as a testament to Elkem's commitment to quality and innovation. You know that silicone release coatings are key component of a liner or a laminate construction, and SILCOLEASE products are much more than micrometric coatings. Indeed, our offerings represent a blend of efficiency, also advanced technology and eco-design, with the objective to drive innovation across different applications and meet multiple needs and requirements, not only from customers, but also brand owners and end users. We believe in pushing the boundaries to ensure that every application will benefit from our cutting-edge technology and environmentally friendly design when it's possible. Thus, at the core of our approach is a mindset centered on delivering silicone solutions that are not only suitable and safe, but also sustainable. Why is silicone coating so essential in a release liner and a laminate construction? Here in the audience, we are all familiar with the design of laminate construction. And we know that silicone is the only component that cannot be replaced or substituted without causing drastic damage to the end product. While face stock and backings can be made for different types of papers or coating papers and film, self-adhesive from various chemical families and organic raw materials, silicone remains the only technical solution as a release coating, with unique performances at coat weight as low at 0.12 gram per square meter, thanks to not only its specific inorganic organic DNA and also superior physico-chemical properties. Today, we offer on the market 4 complementary silicone technologies, which can be categorized as follows: solvent-based thermal, emulsion thermal, solventless thermal, and solventless UV. In other words, these systems are supplied in 3 basic forms: in solvent dilution, in water as emulsion, or as 100% silicone fluid. And you know that the choice of the appropriate carrier material will be defined by many parameters, such as the coating equipment, the substrate to be coated, and also regulatory and safety limitations, and also final end performance. And at last, the polymerization of the silicone is carried out either by a thermal curing mechanism or by UV light activation. These silicone solutions are versatile products from different portfolios that will offer adapted performances for all self-adhesive and release liner markets, such as label laminates, linerless labels, graphic arts, tapes, hygiene, this list being not necessarily exhaustive. Studies reveal that 80% of a product's environmental impact is defined at the design phase. It means that introducing eco-design is key at the research level. And Elkem has a strong position in developing innovative materials that combine both improved performances and eco-responsible approach. Among all the technologies we have in our toolbox, photopolymerization by UV light activation is an interesting area for process innovation when it comes to sustainability. SILCOLEASE solventless UV release coatings are safe functional silicones based on cationic or free radical chemistries with the following features and benefits. First, they are solvent-based products leading to no VOC emission and treatment, no transportation of carrier solvent or water. Then they do not need heat activation and they can cure at room temperature, leading to the reduction of the overall energy consumption, as we will see in the next slides. At last, they are well known to cure quickly with UV mercury lamps, and from now on, with UV LED lamps within seconds. Why do we strongly believe in UV LED technology? In fact, recent trends are increasingly favoring the adoption of UV LED technology over traditional UV mercury lamps. The ban or restriction on mercury used in UV lamps is driving the need for safer alternatives. Additionally, the rising cost of electricity makes the energy-efficient UV LED lamps more attractive because they consume less energy. Then the increased power of LED lamps now can match that of mercury lamps, making them a viable option for various applications. And at last, the development of not only new hybrid mercury LED lamps plus chemistries compatible with both UV mercury and LED ensures a smoother transition and broader applicability. Additionally, UV LED offers numerous sustainable advantages over UV mercury lamps. First, it's mercury and ozone-free. It means that it contributes positively to reduce the environmental footprint. They also bring a service life that is 10 times longer, enhancing durability and reducing waste. They do not require warm-up and cool-down time, meaning a boost of productivity. And at last, their energy consumption is at least 50% less, leading to substantial cost and energy savings, thus to the reduction of the Scope 2 emission according to the GHG protocol. To help our customer to make the move to UV LED, Elkem is equipped with a pilot coater in Lyon, in France, with the following features: a 5-roll coating head, corona treatment station, air flotation dryer, UV mercury lamp, and 2 UV LED lamps with 365 and 385 nanometer wavelengths. This facility is ideal for proof of concept studies, design of experiments, pre-industrial trials on all types of paper and filmic substrates, operating at machine speeds up to 200 meters per minute, and dwell time of maximum few seconds. Last but not least, SILCOLEASE solventless UV release coatings cured with UV LED lamps will offer the same level of processing, same quality, and same end performance as those cured with traditional UV mercury lamps. This ensures that our customers can achieve consistent, high-quality results while benefiting from the sustainable and efficient advantages of UV LED technology. So in a summary, I hope that you are now convinced that our initiative to introduce eco-design silicone release coatings by combining UV LED and adapted silicone formulation is a success to contribute to the reduction of Scope 2 emissions at our customers' facilities with energy consumption divided at least by 2. However, the majority of our own emissions are categorized under Scope 3, as they come from activities across our value chain. It means that integrating recycled raw materials in our production processes is essential for effectively reducing these upstream emissions. In the third part of this presentation, Karin will provide a more detailed exploration on this topic.
So thank you, Seb, for the introduction, and Catalina for the transition with the Paul. The previous part will was dealing with the eco-design for processings. Now I will delve into the eco-design for raw materials, more precisely silicones material. Indeed, Elkem recently developed 100% recycled vinyl polymer, 2 new products which enlarge our SILCOLEASE range, specifically the cementless thermal range, dedicated for self-adhesives and release liner applications. This project aligns perfectly with Elkem's long-standing commitment to integrating eco-responsibility into our innovation process. These 2 new upcycles grades significantly cut environmental impact by reducing the carbon footprint of the product up to 70% compared to the virgin counterparts. It will also directly impact the scope 3 of the emission by our customers, so by you, during release liners production. Elkem, as a silicone supplier, is now a pioneer in new recycling technology and processings to maximize raw material value, starting with in-house waste, in-house industrial waste. Different routes have been investigated, and 2 of them have been explored, developed, and even patented by Elkem. The chemical recycling using eco-design depolymerizations method allows the production of new products with performances and purity comparable to the virgin product, while significantly reducing waste and thus the carbon footprint. In addition of this chemical processing, Elkem is also working on the mechanical recycling. It's in fact the shortest route to value for waste, cured and cross-linked elastomeric material. Cementless thermal upcycled polymer we present you today come from the chemical process. These 2 new products have been declined under the SILCOLEASE redesignation in order to differentiate them from the virgin counterpart. High versatility and high performance have been the watchwords for the selection of the 2 first recycled grades we wanted to launch. The SILCOLEASE Poly 11362, in fact, propose very interesting properties. These properties are suitable for many applications impacting major markets for self-adhesives and release liners, like labels, tape, agents, and many others. This grade is also fully adapted for high-speed processing on cutting machine, which can help in the productivity improvement on your production. The SILCOLEASE Poly 368 from its side is also performed in numerous applications. This product, in fact, has the advantage that it well accepts the use of the modulators, commonly called RCA, in the recipe without impacting the release performances. It also works effectively whatever we are using acrylics or ultimate adhesives. In fact, these 2 recycled polymers are kind of all-rounders product, covering a broad spectrum of applications and release liners markets, while proposing fully adapted performances for release application. Last year, Elkem successfully designed, built, and put into operations a pilot plant in Saint-Fond here in France. In fact, this unique pilot facility enables the conversion of silicones waste into recycled material at the industrial scale. For each SILCOLEASE recycled grade, we produce a lot of batches. All of them have been analyzed, and all the specification, the standard specification for such vinyl polymers, including the chemical structure of the polymer through chromatography, have been checked. All the results we got first confirm that the scale-up unit is fully adaptable and capable for the production and the consistency of the scale-up recycling. It will provide vital scale-up information for safe and energy-efficient recycling of silicones at the industrial scales. All the results proved also the strict equivalence of the recycled grade with the virgin counterparts from a chemical and polymeric structure point of view. Processability and release performances of these both SILCOLEASE recycled grades have been first checked on Elkem pilot coater, the same one that Sebastian mentioned previously. We also had the opportunity to run trials in real industrial scales on an industrial coating unit located by our partner Cronut, the well-known machinery supplier. Two versions of the SILCOLEASE Poly 11362 have been processed, the virgin one compared to the recycled grade. Many trials have been conducted, and they have conducted at critical conditions, like 900 meter per minute, and even at 1,200 meter per minute. All these tests, all these trials have been conducted without any issue. Whatever on Elkem's pilot coater or at the industrial scales, critical performances metrics like anchorage stability, reactivity, or release properties were checked and fully approved, showing no difference between virgin and upcycle grades of the SILCOLEASE Poly 11362. Recycled products demonstrate the same processing condition, the same processing capabilities as the virgin one, even when running at 1,200 meter per minute. In practical terms, what does it mean for you, customer side, from a customer side? It will be not necessary, in fact, to launch a long and complete homologation process, which potentially costs money, resources, and time to approve these two new recycled grades on your coating unit. I will say that almost in a snap, you can switch from one grade to another with 100% guarantee of maintaining the performances. In the first part, Clément explained you that sourcing silicones from Elkem can help you effectively to meet your scope 3 emission to the scope 3 emission reductions targeted and lower your own product carbon footprint. Thanks to these two new SILCOLEASE products, the SILCOLEASE Poly 11362 and SILCOLEASE Poly 368, you will be able to position yourselves to meet growing demand for environmentally responsible products and more sustainable solutions. These two new grades are significantly contributing to the emission reduction by reducing drastically the carbon footprint to 1.1 kilogram CO2 equivalent per kilogram, which represents a reduction more or less of 70% compared to the virgin counterparts. When mixed with crosslinker and platinum catalyst, the positive impact is a little bit reduced due to the fact that crosslinker and the catalyst have higher carbon footprint. Nevertheless, using more than 80% of recycled polymers in the formulation clearly help you to achieve your security and sustainability target, since the total carbon footprint of the systems will be reduced more than 40% per square meter, which is very, very important. Thanks to these two Elkem's recycled products, you will stay ahead of the future regulatory change, anticipating future requirements and specifications. So to conclude, Elkem successfully tackled the challenge of designing upcycled materials from silicone waste through an innovative recycling process tailored for self-adhesives and release liner applications. These initiatives led to the creation of 100% recycled silicone polymers, which demonstrate proven processability and technical performance. The recycled grade SILCOLEASE Re-Poly 11362 and Re-Poly 368 are equivalent to the virgin counterparts, ensuring no compromise on performance. This sustainable approach supports the circular economy by offering products with a carbon footprint just of 1.1 kilogram CO2 per kilogram. Additionally, these versatile polymers cover a wide range of applications for release liner, which allow them to be used for many different markets. So I would say that don't hesitate anymore. Join us in leading the way to a more sustainable future, and Elkem recycled silicones product we propose you today are ready for your machine trials. So come to us. Thanks for the attention.
Great, thank you everyone for that very interesting presentation. I hope the audience also found it interesting. Judging by the number of questions that we have from them, I think they definitely did. Before diving into those questions, I'd like to kick us off maybe with just two questions, which is why are the SILCOLEASE Re-Poly 11362 and 368 the first products to be launched? So the products that you've talked about, why are they the first ones?
Karini, you want to answer?
Sorry, I don't catch.
Why do the Poly 11362 and Poly 368 have been the first product as recycled products in our SILCOLEASE range?
In fact, as I precise in my presentations, these two polymers are more or less all-rounders products and covered a large applications, a wide spectrum of applications for self-adhesives and release liner, and focused on many different markets. So it's the reason why we try to prioritize some versatile product, I would say, compared to more specific and more dedicated product for only one application or only one market.
Great, thank you for that. Then maybe a follow-up question is, what about other SILCOLEASE products? Will they be available as recycled as well?
In the future, for sure, but at the moment we prefer to focus on the first references that we have presented today, also in order to see how fast it can be implemented at the customer side, knowing that we have a lot of demands at the moment. So we are very happy because we have the evidence that we have chosen the right products to start with. And we are sure that in the near future, we will be able to provide more references, maybe for different applications.
That's great to hear. We do have some questions from the audience, so I'm just going to read out a few. The first one being, how can we bring sustainability through release coating agents? And then which sustainable release agents are now being developed or used? So not sure which one of you.
I can answer. So I think that we have already given a lot of answers related to these two questions. What is important to see is that we can either bring sustainability by the product by itself, but also indirectly thanks to the usage of new process. And it's typically what we have presented today. On one hand, we have recycled products with a positive impact on scope 3. And at the same time, we have other ranges of products that can help our customer to reduce scope 2.
Yeah.
So it's example. And I can also add that we are pushing for ranges of products which are 100% silicone, without any solvent or without any water. And in that case, also, it helps to improve the sustainability approach.
Great. Then we do have a few more questions. Let me just see. How does the performance of recycled silicone compare to traditional systems in demanding label applications?
Can you repeat, please?
Sure. How does the performance of recycled silicone compare to traditional systems in demanding label applications?
So the same than Sebastian. I think that through the presentation we already show that performances have not been impacting the, whatever we are using, virgin grades or recycled products. And it was one of the main objective when we start such a project, is to to answer some target in terms of sustainability and carbon footprint emissions, but also not to impacting the performances and expected by the customers and expected on the market.
Okay.
For this project, we really focus on the fact that we really want that at the customer side. Today they use virgin products. Today they will use recycled products, and we want that they do not change anything. Same process,
exactly.
same quality for the same performances. It's key.
Exactly. Which is very important for all these new sustainable solutions. Perfect. Few more questions. So we have another question that says, I understand that SILCOLEASE regrades are chemically recycled from industrial waste. Can you do chemical recycling on the post-consumer waste?
So maybe I can take this one. Definitely, we start, as mentioned today, with post-industrial waste. We know for sure that post-consumer waste will be the next steps or later down the line. This is definitely the target, to close more and more loops and to add more and more waste streams to our various recycling technology. So yes, but not yet is the answer.
Okay. Then we have someone asking if these recyclable solutions are available in North America or only in Europe.
So,
today we, in fact, we focus on Europe, EMEA, because the demand and the expectation was more important. But depending on the interest in US, and if some customers are really wanted to go in such a direction, of course, we will work with them to answer and try to meet their expectation.
Great. There's quite a few questions. I'm not sure we'll get around to all of them. If we don't, please, the audience, you can of course reach out directly to the Elkem team or to us, and we can always forward the questions. Another question that we have from the audience is, do you have a number for North America carbon footprint?
Yes, I can answer that question as well. Basically, the answer is the number will be very similar to the European number that I mentioned, because the upstream, which is the main contribution to the carbon footprint, are the same for both sides. So the order of magnitude will be the same. If you are buying any specific product from us, from our North American plants, you can reach out to your Elkem salesperson and ask for the detailed carbon footprint of this specific product, and we'll be happy to provide one.
Great, thank you. Then we also probably have time for maybe 2 or 3 more questions from the audience. Let me just see. Yes. Yes, someone is asking about linerless. So which coatings work more friendly with coated papers like direct thermal linerless, fully curable with low heat, good anchorage, and performance over time?
Maybe I can take this one. So because we are talking about thermal paper, UV range of products are really adapted because it helps to cure at room temperature. But we also see some interest from the market to have the possibility to bring some technical solutions which are activated by heat. But I can say that it remains quite challenging, more specifically if we want to offer something which is adapted for all type of thermal paper. So definitely when we talk about linerless labels and silicone which are adapted to work on, we have to think about UV.
Great, thank you very much. Let me just see, maybe we can do this question next is, I believe Karine already answered if the products will be available in North America. Follow up to that is there a price difference between standard version and the reversion? And then are the silicone precursors used in the recycling process all internal to the Elkem supply chain?
So for the second question, are the silicone precursors used in the recycling process or internal to Elkem supply chain? For the time being, yes. We developed and scale up the recycling process based on our in-house industrial waste. But the idea is to enlarge the supply of our waste material for recycling, and we will probably need some sourcing from other either suppliers or customers. And regarding the second questions, are these recyclable silicone? Regarding the price. Of course, these 2 new recycling products will be proposed on the market with a premium, taking into account first the production process to get them, and secondly the advantage they can offer. But it will probably evolve with the time, depending on the quantities we will produce, depending on the demand, more and more. The volume will be larger, more and more. It will impact on our pricing, I would say.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Then maybe time for one final question, being how soon do you see fully recycled silicone systems being adopted at scale in the label market and maybe in other markets?
Fully recycled silicone systems, I would say that today we are focused on polymers, taking into account it's the larger part of the product in the coating systems. We are working on other processes and new technologies also to recycle the two other components, I would say, but today is still under development. And well, it's difficult to say when it will fully developed, but clearly I think that it could be very fast, taking into account how we progress based on our experience, I would say, for polymer recycling.
Exactly. I think that we could summarize to say that it happens now already, and as we have said several times, we have many demands from the market and from customers, and we can see that also co-actors are interested. They are asking a lot of questions. So we are really happy to have worked in that way, because we feel that it's the right moment.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely good to hear, not only as part of the industry, but as a human being, definitely up for more sustainability. So thank you very much, Karine, Clément, and Sebastian. Again, if we didn't get to your question, please reach out to the Elkem team, or you can reach out to AWA. We will forward your questions. This will be available as a recording on the platform, so you will be able to view it afterwards as well, should you want to see something back from the presentation specifically. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, and of course the Elkem team for presenting these new solutions, which are definitely interesting for the release liner industry. So thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.